Interpretation at the bottom of the screen. Donc, bonjour à tous pour ceux qui nous joignent peut-être pour la première fois et qui ne sont pas
Greetings to those who are joining us for the first time.
Avec l'interprétation, vous pouvez
And are not
accéder
familiar
à
with
l'interprétation
interpretation, you could accede to
en
the
choisissant
interpretation
votre langue préférée en cliquant sur l'icône de la petite planète en bas de votre écran.
using the icon at the back, at the bottom of the screen.
Voilà. So I see many familiar faces here. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see many people from various countries. I think we will start slowly but surely, just to make sure that we make for good time, because we have a very exciting lineup for today. So today's session, we will be focusing on healthy agroecological farm input markets. For those who have been following the sessions in the previous rounds, we had quite an in-depth session on the manufacturing of bioinputs. We are going to be looking now at how we bring these to market. This is a seminal aspect of growing the agroecological sector in Africa, basically because a lot of farmers wanting to convert to those agroecological practices or wanting to obviously upkeep soil nutrition on their farm, and who are not maybe able to generate all those bioinputs themselves, need access to those. Bioinputs also offer tremendous economic opportunities for those manufacturing them. So the crux of the matter is, how do we access, generate, and grow the markets for these bioentrants? Before we go into more detail about today's session, I just want to briefly invite our organizing committee, represented here by Charles from AFSA and Steph Aubin from the Sky Initiative, to briefly give us an overview of what your respective organizations do. Charles, over to you.
Thank you very much, Shasha. My name is Charles Luanga Tumuhe. I work for the Alliance for Food Summit in Africa. I am the Healthy Soil of the Food Project Officer. AFSA was launched in 2011, and it's an alliance of African civil society actors that advocate for food sovereignty and agroecology in Africa. AFSA comprises of 40 members, and these are networks across 50 of the 54 African countries. And AFSA promotes African-led solutions, which is a merger of traditional knowledge with basic natural resource control. And also AFSA champions agroecology for #1, climate action, #2, farmer managed seed systems, #3, land rights and healthy soils, and #4, sustainable food and nutrition systems. If you want to know a little more about AFSA, I'm going to post the website in the chat right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles, and I guess I can take over.
If I was inviting you to do so, I was muted. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Sasha and Charles, and good morning, everyone. So my name is Stephanie Aubin, and I'm with the Sky Seed and Knowledge Initiative regional team. Seed and Knowledge Initiative, also known as Sky or SKI, is a regional partnership of 15 diverse organizations, local NGOs, community-based organizations, farmer organizations, research institutions, also national networks. And this group of 15 came together in 2014 to promote farm-led systems in the context of agroecology and food sovereignty in Southern Africa. So what we do is work both at the grassroots level, supporting farmers there, but also at the national, regional, and global levels for some advocacy at those levels. Since 2020, we've been collaborating with AFSA to jointly design and implement this Healthy Soil, Healthy Food initiative. We have 6 Sky partners that are hosting a Healthy Food, Healthy Soil Center, namely SFHC in Malawi, Kasisi in Zambia, Poret and Soro in Zimbabwe, as well as Chinika, and BioWatch in South Africa. So this 6 Sky partners are leading the Healthy Soil, Healthy Food movement in Southern Africa and in the Sky partnership, while the regional team provide the coordination support. And as the same as Charles did for EFSA, I will put the link to the Sky website if you want to know more about Sky. Thank you. Over to you, Sasha.
Thank you, Steph. And I was just sharing as you were speaking, just a brief overview of what the Healthy Soil and Healthy Food Initiative is about. And those who have attended all the webinars up to now are aware that the idea is to bring the best practices as they have been tested on the farm, to bring those forward, you know, having actively engaged with farmers on the ground and to promote the broad scale uptake of these practices. Just an overview of where we are in our program. So we've gone past the half mark of our series. We are now in session number 5. And yeah, we've got 3 more to go. I will be telling you about these later. I just want to tell you a little bit about what we'll be discussing today. The idea of this session is to get insights on the production, the testing, the registration, the branding, and the distribution of bioinputs, with experiences that are going to be shared with us stemming both from East Africa and West Africa. We'll be getting a bit of an understanding on the unique challenges and strategies that are pertinent to those countries, and hopefully this can make for valuable insights for practitioners in other geographies. We're going to be learning from those journeys, and it will this input will basically hopefully make way for an interesting discussion where we'll be discussing the challenges linked to the creation and the growth of these markets. I just want to check whether we have confirmation that Esther is in the room. Charles, just to make sure that I invite Esther at the opportune time. The people we have lined up for this session is Mr. Bet from Rodi, Kenya. He will be telling us about the journey of producing, testing, and processing the organic certification mark, the Kilimo High mark, and the associated constraints recommendation that she has to share with us. Then we also have another person from Kenya who is David Karanja from OAC. He will share the secrets behind this time large-scale production and branding of bioinputs. On the West African side, we'll get input from Claude Arsène Savadogo. He has had the courtesy of sharing with us a short video telling us about his experience manufacturing his bioinputs. And then we also have lined up for today Mr. Frank Mario from Sustainable Agriculture Tanzania. He will be telling us more about the policy and legal constraints on the subject matter. So this is our lineup for today. Thank you for joining us. Before we start, we just want to encourage everyone, please, to go on the Kobo toolbox that Charles has shared in the chat box. We like to use this as a formal greeting and registration of today's active participation. And then I just want to also invite you, Charles, to please briefly put up the first poll for today, in which we identify who is in the room, just basically to get a sense of the stakeholders present. If you're able to share the Zoom survey, so that people can just tell us from which stakeholder category they hail. If that's possible, Charles. Yes, wonderful. No, yeah. That wasn't the one. The one we have the stakeholder, the different categories of stakeholders. If you're not able to bring it up now, we can always delay this. It's absolutely not important to have it right now. So while I think you're establishing this, let us get started with our first speaker for today. Okay, there we are. So this is a question we like to ask to everyone in the room before we start, because it helps also our speakers understand who is in the room, and we like to also know who's engaging with the webinar series. Please tick on the category of stakeholder you belong to. You will see it appearing on your screen. If you're a farmer, researcher, trainer, are you from civil society, the private sector, from an international organization, government, the donor sector, or other. So please go ahead and tick. And then once we've reached a critical number of participation, we can just share this with our speakers, and then they will also know who they're speaking to. Charles, I think you can monitor the percentage of responses. Let us just go ahead once we reach close to 50%.
Yeah, it is 60% now.
Okay. Can you do a screen share of the results, and then we can get a sense of who's in the room? Okay. So we've got a very prominent representation from members of NGOs and CSOs. Very interesting. Thank you for that picture. Charles, please help me. Is Esther in the room? Esther, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Wonderful, Esther. Sorry, we didn't see you
Can
in
you hear
our
me?
yes, we didn't see you in our room earlier. So I'm so glad to see that you're here. So Esther is our first speaker for today. I see Charles is sharing screen for you, so he'll be sharing screen throughout your PowerPoint. I just want to briefly introduce you, Esther, before you go ahead with launching into your presentation. So Esther Bett is currently serving as Executive Director at Road in Kenya, and she holds a master's degree in community care, a graduate certificate in leadership and peace building, and a diploma in agriculture and economics.
Okay.
So your educational background has been complemented by specialized training in agroecology and the creation of biofertilizers. It seems that you're eager to start. I still want to just say a few words about you, Esther. That you are serving as the national treasurer for the Kenya Organic Agricultural Network, and is an active member of the African Continental Committee within the African Organic.
Yes.
And then another very important, I think, element of your profile
Yes.
that you should be aware of is the role you are playing within the Regional Steering Committee of the Eastern Africa EOAI, Ecologic Organic Agriculture Initiative. So thank you very much, Esther, for joining us and for sharing your experience in Kenya with regards to producing, packaging, and marketing bioinputs. You have 10 minutes. Over to you. Okay, so I think please go ahead. We can move to the next slides. Charles.
Yes, Esther, are you able to see my screen?
Esther, please go ahead. Can you hear us?
You need to unmute Esther.
I don't think she's muted, and I don't know if she's actually hearing us. Esther, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Esther, can you speak? Can you hear
Yeah,
us?
she seems
Yeah?
to be speaking in the microphone because you can see the bar going up and down, but we cannot hear.
Actually, she's not. I can see her video, but it doesn't seem that she's actually even with us. No.
Hello,
Okay.
Charles. Am I the only one missing Sacha?
Yes, you are on now, Esther.
You must go ahead with your presentation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's an audio issue.
We can hear you, Esther.
Okay.
Charles, can you call her if she's in Uganda to tell her we can hear her on the mobile phone?
Ferdinand could do that. Yeah, maybe if David wants to come in.
Yeah, I was going to suggest, I think while we solve the issue, David, can you please bring up your presentation? Let us not spend too much time on this. I think Esther can flow directly from you, okay? So David, if you can please bring up your PowerPoint, and I will go ahead with now introducing you as a speaker. So David Gatuga Karanja also hails from Kenya and has dedicated over a decade to the Organic Agricultural Center of Kenya, known under the acronym OAC, of which he became the executive director this year. David champions sustainable organic and biodynamic agriculture training for smallholder farmers, and he has been leading school gardening programs. His educational journey took him from studying biointensive agriculture at California's Ecological Action to mastering biodynamic agriculture at the UK's Emerson College. He is further honing his skills in horticulture at Kenya Methodist University. Thank you very much for joining us. And David, please go ahead with your presentation. If you can share it in presentation format. And go ahead, you have 10 minutes.
No, David, you needed to go to the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. Can you see now?
It's not.
Yes, and bottom right, you click on the presentation mode.
Presentation.
Go all the way down to your screen, all the way
Okay,
down.
minute.
Right, on the right-hand side.
Yes.
It's the icon that shows like a little TV. More left.
Sorry.
Okay, otherwise I'm not.
Is it okay now?
No, it's not, but
Charles?
I think.
No.
Yeah, maybe Charles, can you share my screen? You can share my slide.
Let me do that.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone, about that. It is nicer if it's in presentation mode, then it reads nicely. And while we edit, people often ask, can we please have access to your slides? Of course you can. I'm going to drop in the chat box the access to all today's presentations, and you can have access to these at your leisure.
Yeah, this, David.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for that hiccup. My name's David. I work at the Organic Agriculture Center of Kenya. Here in Kenya, I'm the CEO. And OAC is our acronym, and we are a non-profit organization, NGO. And we have been in this space of agroecological since the year 2006, when the organization was registered. But we started our main work in the year 2008. That's when we started hitting ground and training farmers on agroecology. So our work has been here in Muranga promoting the adoption of agroecology, offering training, and also offering follow-ups, and also conducting demonstration sites. And over the years, we have seen a lot of farmers getting interested to practice agroecology. And as an organization, our thematic areas are in the areas of food security, environmental conservation, outreach, that's extension, collaborative research, and also livelihood improvement. So our journey on the issue of bioinputs is after training farmers on how they can do their own on-farm bioinput production, we realize that there is also demand for those who are not in our program, because we cannot be everywhere. We reach farmers through small groups. So when you train them, you find that majority of them are implementing when you train them. But also we realize that there's also a huge potential for people asking if they cannot be able to make their own bioinput, where can they get it? Can they get it from the neighbors, or where can they get it? So as an organization, we started thinking on how now we can have the idea of commercialization of bioinputs. And so we started 20 thinking on how now we can do large-scale production or commercialization of the bioinputs. So next slide, Charles. Yes, we started thinking on how we can now do the production of bioinputs. And what we started is that we started thinking on if we start production, what are the requirements that can be hinder us not to do the commercialization. And one of the issues is now the issue of standard and certification. How you make this product, how can they be accepted by the consumers in the market without breaking the law? And here in Kenya, maybe in the next slide, Charles. Yeah, here in Kenya, we have now the Kenya Bureau of Standard, which is the standard that every product needs to have or to have undergone so that it can be accepted by the consumers. So we thought about KEBS, and we really approached them and we informed them that we have this product that we need to sell into the local markets, and then they have their own standard, and the standard were based on the fertilizers, for the fertilizers and also for the foliar fertilizers. And then we got our product registered. They did the testing, and also alongside for them doing the testing, they also visited where we are doing our production. And also they also requested us that we also can have our own analysis from a private laboratory, which we did. And since then, now it's 3 years ago, 3 years on, and now we have scaled our production. Maybe you can see from the next slide, Charles. Yes, we started now the production, and one of our fertilizer is now this solid organic fertilizer that is KEBS certified. For this one, it's like improved bokashi. That has gone the process of granulation. We grind it and we granulate it so that it can be easily accessible to the market. So that is one of the products that is already certified, and the process has been good. Since you get the certification, it's like you open up your market. You can move freely from one corner of the country to the other without being harassed by the policeman or the consumer asking whether the product is of standard. So not only this product that is certified, we have even now the bioinoculants, and we have even a foliar that are also KEBS certified. And through this, we have seen that when you are selling something that is certified, the market open up, and you can easily even be invited by the government officials to explain the kind of product they are selling. Maybe the next slide, Charles. Yeah, in addition, now these are our main products that we already have in the market. The organic fertilizer, the second one in the 5-liter jerrycan, we call it's also a foliar fertilizer, but we call it OM, organic multipurpose, because it's like fermented bacteria that we normally use it both in agriculture as well as we normally use it in enriching our soils, and also even using it in animals. The other one is now the organic foliar, which is certified. And on my far right, that's a product called Nilex. It's an animal dewormer. That one is not KEBS certified because we have been in contact with them, asking them on how they can certify that product. But they informed us that anything to do with animals, they cannot certify because that's not their mandate. So we are now working with the veterinary department to see on how that product can be certified so that it can be penetrated into the market. But it's well used by our farmers around our region, and it's from the neem product. You know, neem is a tree that has a lot of benefit, both for the environment, both for the human, and also for the animals. So we are using it as a dewormer, waiting for its official registration so that it can be found in the local outlets. The next one, Charles. Yeah, now here is our production site. From here, you can see some of our workers doing a lot of, this is our composting site. We do a lot of composting in large volumes. So we normally do composting, And then when the materials are fully decomposed, then now we also now mix with other materials. So this is our production site. It's based in Kirinyaga. Charles has been there, and we are doing heaps and heaps of compost. And from there now we get our materials to do our process. Next one, Charles.
Are you there, David?
Charles, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Can you see?
Charles?
Are you seeing your photo with the drums?
No, maybe I cannot see it from my head, but now the big drums now that's where we are doing our carbonization. You know, when we are doing the biochar, we normally use charcoal, but it's not easy to get charcoal here in Kenya because charcoal was banned some years ago. So we are doing our own carbonization through the process of pyrolysis, and we are doing it from carbonizing rice husk. And thus you can see those big containers are our carbonators, and they are making a lot of carbon, which we normally use in mixing of our raw materials. Next one, Charles.
Yep. So the next one is showing the
Then before you get to the next one, this big containers. This one, maybe before you get to that one, maybe the containers.
Yes.
Yeah, down there you can see that's where we are doing our foliar and also our liquid fertilizers, and we are doing it in large scale. Like in that room, we can be able to go make 20,000 liters, because the bigger containers you see in the front there, they can each host 1,000 liters, and we have 5 of them. There's more than 500 liters. So our capacity at any given time, we can be able to produce 20,000 liters of foliar fertilizers. On my light, you can see that guy. Now that one is ready, and that pipe is just, you know, when we are doing it's for removing excess air from the container. So that's our production unit. On top there, I just talk about the kiln. That's for our pyrolysis. So down there, the next one, Charles. Yeah. Now from there, now we have our outlets. Now this is one of the outlets we have in Kangare, and we have 5 of these kind of outlets in different parts of our country or in different counties. So from now the production units, when the products are packed, now we have this kind of outlets where now farmers can access the ready bioinput. So this is one of our shops in Kangare, and as I've mentioned, we have others in other counties. We have one in Nyeri County, we have one in Kajiado County, we have one in Meru County, we have one in Kiambu. So, and the list is growing. And we have seen now people coming. Maybe the next slide can show us.
Thanks, David. We'll ask you to wrap in a bit.
This now the customer. Yeah, the customers now coming and buying the product. So with these outlets, now we are helping people to have the bioinputs closer to them. The next slide, Charles. So now when they buy the bioinputs, now they take it to the field, and you can see this some of the fields where our biofertilizers have been used. And you can see by way of looking that these crops or these plants are very healthy. On my left, you can see a farmer harvesting Managu, black nightshade. On the other side, you can see a small demonstration plot that we have developed using now the biofertilizers. So when we have this kind of production, now we think about the outlets, the markets. Maybe, Charles, you can go to the next slide.
The market?
Yeah. You see now we have now this market. Now from now the use of the bioinputs, the farmers grow their own crops, and now they end up into the local market. This is one of the local organic market. It's called Kangare Organic Market, where farmers who are using the biofertilizers, they can take their produce And one thing that we have noted is that when they take this fresh produce that are grown by the biofertilizers, the consumers are very happy because they are getting very healthy produce, and also the farmers can make some income out of it. So the next slide, Charles.
David, you need to conclude, please.
Yeah. So apart now, this is also part of the farmer that you're working with. Now, apart now, they are also doing value addition. You can see these are farmers that we are working with, and now they have done the value addition of the various crops that they are growing. Here you can see they have done a lot of herbs that they are doing, and they are selling it to the consumer. So this is one of the outing that farmers can take their produce. And the last one, maybe, Charles. Yeah, thank you. So in a nutshell, that's what we are doing with our production of the bio input, and also selling to the farmers, and also farmers now developing their own local market, and the consumers getting. So that's in a nutshell all what we are doing. Thank you.
David, thank you so much for sharing your journey. And I just want to, I think, underline here for the purpose of everybody's understanding that what you have described is your journey of manufacturing and selling production of bioinputs under the certification of the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Reiterating, however, that this is not an organic standard, it's the KBS. And I think it's just important that we bring this forth because this session is about discussing standardization and certification. I think it's important to be aware of this. Can we please mute whoever's speaking in the background? Thank you. And I think this is an important element for our discussion. It's very interesting that your production is branded as organic because it is, you consider it organic, and according to the KBS, it is. But I think there's also this element of, is it organic certified if it is not certified against an organic standard? And I think this is important in our broader debate about what we call agroecological inputs, because agroecology as a practice is not backed by production standards that are verifiable. So I just wanted to flag this as an important distinction with what Esther is going to be presenting, a production line that is linked to organic certification. But this distinction we're bringing to you intentionally because there are different journeys and different ways of bringing agroecological bioinputs to markets. I see there's a burning hand by David Banda. David, I'm just going to ask you to hold, please. The way we do this is that we invite our speakers to first present. Any burning question you have, we would like to ask people to drop it in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. You can address it to all speakers or one speaker specifically. Then the speaker will do his or her best to address it, and we will also use it for our open Q&A. So David, thank you very much for this, and yeah, the beautiful opportunities for markets opening up on your side in Kenya. Esther, I believe you are back with us after your power issue. Please confirm you can hear us.
I'm back. I'm sorry I disappeared. Yes. The slide that you're presenting, Charles, is not the edited one. There was an improved one.
First attend to.
Okay, can you hear me?
Sorry, Shasha. Attend to Steph Obin first.
Yeah, perhaps before Esther starts, Sasha, you can tell people about the Q&A section. Thanks.
Yeah, I just have actually mentioned it. I could see there was a hand up, and I did mention, you know, that people could drop their question in the Q&A. Yeah.
Because it's very silent and quiet for those of us monitoring the questions. We're getting bored. Sorry, no, joking. So please use it. Thanks.
Yeah, and David, keep your eye on it because I'm sure there'll be lots of questions flying to you. Still, we can hear you well. You've got 10 minutes. Please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Esther Bett. I work for an organization called Resources Oriented Development Initiatives. I work as a team leader. Currently, I'm the CEO. And Rodi works in issues of agroecology, biofertilizer production, but we also do a lot of work on crime prevention and organic production. We work in 16 counties in Kenya. Target beneficiaries are prisons. We work with 28 prisons. 30 primary schools, and over 70 community groups. We do agroecology, tree planting, and we also do legal justice and social justice. And we deal with issues related to health, where we do TB screening and also nutritional care in the schools, in the prisons, and in the community. Thank you. Next slide, please. When you look at the agroecology markets that we are talking about, we have to have outlets to sell the safe food and biofertilizers. Excuse me,
Yeah, we have
there's some
a very,
interference.
we've got a big echo there. Do you have any one device connected, Esther, right?
It's okay now. So in the agroecology market, it's an outlet where that has been created to sell safe food and bioinputs. And in Kenya, we have organic marks that have been developed that are used to label organic produce and to market the produce and bioinputs. Standards have also been developed to be used in the production and the use of bioinputs that are used in the production process for them to be labeled organic during the sales. Our markets have been created where people can buy organic inputs and also organic produce to enable them to access the produce. The organic markets have been to sell the finished products, but we also sell the inputs in the same organic markets that have been set up through COAN in Kenya. And Rodi is a member of COAN, and we've done a lot of organic training and production for our farmers, but we also have done a lot of training in the prisons, schools where we have demonstration gardens and organic gardens where the safe food is produced, the bioinputs are made and used and utilized. This process started in Rodi around, we had been doing sustainable agriculture, but in 2014, a study was done by COAN that brought out the interest of bioinputs. There was lack of bioinputs, and therefore bioorganic producers could not be able to access bioinputs. So Rodi got into the process of looking for somebody who understood bioinputs, and we started training at the Rodi Agroecology Center, which is based in Ruiru, to do bioinput production, where we are doing solid biofertilizers and liquid biofertilizers. Next slide, please. And therefore, for us to be able to certify our products organic, there was a standardization of agroecology, and standards are on bioinputs. Mixed products was developed by stakeholders in COAN and other ones in East Africa, and we use the bio standards to monitor the production. These are called East African Organic Standards, and once you use the East African Organic Standards, you qualify to use the mark in production called Kilimo Hai. I'll show it in the next slide. Farmers are trained on the standards on how to keep records during production and how to show the certification process from the beginning to the end in terms of production of the bioinputs and production of the crops. The East African product standards have been written for organic production in East Africa, but it has been adapted in other parts of Africa right now. Most of the standards that have been developed have followed the East African standards, and the East African standards were developed through support from IFOAM. You have to have certifying organizations that are able to actually monitor the standards. So you have to actually register with the certifying organizations. And in our case, we use the Organic Consumer Alliance. It's also the NSAT, and they are different in different countries, depending on how they have been registered. And after you have been certified, you're given the certification certificate, which you present to COAN. COAN is the National Organic Movement Organization. It's called Kenya Agriculture Network, and it is the custodian of the Kilimo Hai mark. They give you the authorization to use the Kilimo Hai mark on your produce. Next slide, please. Charles, next slide. And this is the Kilimo Hai mark I've just talked about. It is the one that is put either on the produce that is produced, but we also put it in our bio inputs. And it means that the farmers and businesses have made strict standards for growing, processing, and handling of the produce. And the organic certification is a process where you use their organization, and you have those two certificates. You have the certificate for organic certification. Like Rodi, we have a certification for the products like vegetables and all the products that we produce, but we also have certification for organic inputs from Organic Alliance. And therefore, those certificates now have been presented to Kwan for us to be able to use the Kilimo Hai on our finished products and also the bioinputs. Next slide, please. These are the certificates that were given to Rodi, and you realize that you have the certificates, and once you have the certificates, these are organic input certification, and then there is organic production certification. And therefore, these products, these certificates are supposed to be followed and restricted. We have to follow the requirements in terms of inputs, in terms of the processes, and in terms of the production. In Rodi, we sell the bio inputs to different farmers, and currently we are running trials on coffee, tea, kales, bananas, and arrowroots. On average, we sell bokashi, which is a solid fertilizer, at 40 to 60 shillings, depending on where the farmers get the inputs to use to make the biofertilizers. And then the liquid biofertilizers that we produce, we sell for 200 shillings per liter. And you have to apply about 200 to 300 kilograms of the bokashi, which is a dry fertilizer, the solid one, to an acre of land, depending on your soil tests, because now we are even doing soil tests. If the nutrient value of the soil tests is lower, you use more bokashi. But if your nutrient value is higher, you can use 200 kilos per acre. Next slide, please. These are samples of the products that we are producing. We have Supermagro, which is the liquid fertilizer in the bottle, in the middle, right in the middle. And we also make that through fermentation, anaerobic fermentation. We also use vermicompost, you know, the earthworms that produce the liquid. That liquid is very good for correcting imbalances in soils, and it's very good for conversion when you are converting to organic. So we also have the vermi liquid. We also make a liquid called ash brew, which is made from ash, which works as an alkaline base. It's very good for managing pests and diseases, but it's also good for fungal infection. And we make the solid fertilizer, which you see in the bags there. We call it bokashi, and that is the one we sell for 40 shillings at the center. We have also trained community agroecology volunteers who are able to we supervise the making of that biofertilizer. And depending on where they are, they sell it for between 50 to 60 shillings. And quite a good number of our community agroecology volunteers have been able to make an income on that. And the users have actually testified that it works for them, especially those who are growing arrowroots, maize, avocado, macadamia, and vegetables. Next slide, please.
Esther, you have 1 minute to go. I'll give you 2 because you're sharing very interesting stuff now, okay?
Yes, these are the tests to do the tests of the bioinputs. We have the tests for bokashi showing the different nutrients there and the value. The red on the left is low, the green is normal, balanced, and the red is higher. The liquid fertilizers are the liquid fertilizer is on the right, and you realize that it has a lot of high on quite a number of the nutrients. And this is now where we create the balance for the farmer, because we use the bokashi to plant, and then they're able to spray either once a month, and for vegetables 2 times a month, of the liquid fertilizer to be able to bring the correction in the nutrient value in the soil. Next slide, please. This is the plant where we do our fermented fertilizers. And these are the finished produce of the biofertilizers, the ones you see in the bottles, the transparent bottles, because we wanted people to see the different colors. But usually you're supposed to use opaque bottles to pack the produce, because If you expose them to too much sunlight, you lose quite a number of the nutrients that are there in the biofertilizer. So it's important that you put them in opaque bottles and you keep them in a cool place after production. They usually take a month to 2 months to make, and they can be used for over a year. Their life shelves will be longer. For bokashi, the life shelf is about 3 to 4 months. Next slide, please. We promote, why do we promote and advocate for use of biofertilizers? They heal the soil and create resilience in soil to resist pests because they balance the soil and make the soil healthier. Crops produce are greener, tastier, and early maturing. That's what has been told to us by farmers who use this biofertilizer with. Users of vegetables that have hyperacidity have testified that they do not experience hyperacidity anymore. And they use the vegetables and like it better, especially the sukuma wiki, which is the kale. Rodi Kenya sells its biofertilizers at its center and through agroecology volunteers and farmers field days. Farmers like bioinputs since they can make them using locally available materials, and it's cheaper for them than the usual chemical fertilizer that they buy in the shop. Currently, Pelham Kenya is advocating for the Kenya government to support the subsidy of bioinputs, the way the government is subsidizing chemical fertilizer. Because the biofertilizers we are making are not only fertilizers, but they're inoculants. And therefore, they improve the life of the soil. And after using them for 3 or 4 years, you actually don't need to apply much of it anymore. Your soil becomes natural and healthy as long as you don't do monoculture. You do what we call food forests or permaculture, and you are able to improve the soil, and the rooting patterns of the crops help use the nutrients. And as long as you put back the crop wastes and you maintain the moisture and take care of the soil properly, it becomes healthy by 5 or 6 years. Next slide, please. I think that was the last slide.
I think that was your wrap.
Thank you.
Esther, before you go, and we're slightly over time on your allocation, but I think you made such a lovely contribution in our trial run where you were commenting on your strategy, you know, in sort of helping the management of stock of your bioinputs while, you know, once they sort of go dormant. And I think this is very important because the nutrition cycle needs to be kept up, and what you're doing is an interesting marketing angle to it. Do you want to briefly speak to that?
Okay, like when you put bokashi in the shelf, it cannot be in the market for more than 4 or 5 months because the micronutrients kind of go to sleep, and when you put them in the soil, they are not active. So we are considering giving a mixture of molasses and something that will activate the bokashi. If you buy it later than 5 months, which will mix it to activate the micronutrients in the biofertilizer so that it becomes as active as it was in the beginning. In our marketing strategy currently, we are considering making it during the demand season, and if it stays for more than 5 months, we take back what we have not used and use it back in the production. But once farmers understand that you're supposed to just add molasses and add a bit of water to it so that it becomes active and you 4 days before you plant it again, use it again, then farmers will be able to manage it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. This is very valuable. So, yeah, I think lots of learnings there from the Rodi journey. I think it will be of interest to many, the outcome of your bioanalysis. When we had the session on the manufacturing of biofertilizers, the speaker presented the findings of a study that had been done in the field in Zimbabwe, talking to the point that the big challenge for the farmers making and selling their biofertilizers, that they had no way of actually speak about, you know, the nutrient density and breakdown of their production. So we see that there's a hard science behind this, something we can perhaps elaborate on in the open discussion. So thank you very much for this. I just want to ask you, Esther, as well as David, to please go to the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and click there and look at the questions addressed to you. You can pick up a couple of them. There's a question from David Bender to you, David. Nados is for you, I think, Esther. So please try and respond to these throughout the rest of the session, and we can bounce off again in the Q&A. I think, thank you, Charles. We can bring this presentation down. And now, just to break a bit the flow of the presentations, we're going to go into the realm of videos, and we're going to travel to West Africa. We will be hearing from one of our colleagues from the Healthy Soils initiative about his experience with manufacturing biofertilizers in Burkina Faso. So his name is Claude Arsène Savadogo, and is the founder and CEO of the BioProtect SA structure. Claude Arsène had presented for us in the previous session, and he's got tremendous experience manufacturing these. So I think in this very brief video, we will get some valuable inputs from him. So for those who are English speakers, please go to your interpretation booth, and you will get the benefit of the interpretation there. Ready when you are, Charles, to screen share. Make sure to share it in optimize.
Rassurez-vous que c'est écran maximal.
And again, this video and
Cette vidéo,
there's another version that has been
il y a une autre version qui a
or interpreted. You will find this on the Google Drive that will be
été
shared.
interprétée aussi sur
Ephraim,
Google
see your hand
Drive.
up, please, drop your
Je vois
question in
votre
the
main
Q&A, and we'll
levée,
come back to it once we've heard all the
mais
speakers,
vous
okay?
pourrez mettre votre question dans la fenêtre
Are you
de
able to see?
questions-réponses. Est-ce que vous pouvez partager l'écran, Charles? Je peux commencer. J'aimerais savoir, je suis Ephraim.
Okay, Ephraim, just, I don't know if Charles is
Ephraim,
so go ahead with
je
your
sais pas
question,
si Charles. Allez-y, posez votre question, Ephraim.
We need to do it differently. Maybe we allow the video run and then Boris will give us a summary. How is that, Sasha? It's not working well. Would you be happy with that?
We can do that, but what? Sorry, like, are you able to even screen share the video?
Yes. But yes, I mean, it was mixed up. The Cloud, saying the speaker, and the Boris were all mixing up, and I was not hearing anything from either.
No, I think the interpreter can
Okay,
go
yeah, we
while
can
the
do
video
that.
is playing.
Okay,
It's
so we
fine.
can go ahead with screen
Okay.
sharing it. But this is a challenge if we're not getting the benefit of the English. So Boris, do you try and just interpret in the booth? I don't know why it wouldn't work.
Claude Arsène Savadogo du Burkina Faso,
I'm Claude Arsène
promoteur
Savadogo,
de
Burkina
Bioprotect.
Faso,
Alors,
promoter of
Bioprotect est une entreprise qui
BioProtect.
s'investit dans la promotion de l'agroécologie à
We
travers la
invest in the
production et
promotion
la
of
commercialisation d'intrants
agroecology
organiques. Nous
via the
commercialisons des
marketing
fertilisants
of
organiques, notamment des engrais solides, liquides, foliaires,
inputs,
mais aussi des
liquid,
bioprotecteurs,
solid,
donc des
and also
biofongicides, des
bioprotectors,
bioinsecticides, des stimulateurs de défense naturelle des
bioinsecticides,
plantes.
and
Alors, il faut dire qu'au
stimulators
niveau du
of
Burkina,
natural protectors
la
for plants.
régulation pour les
In
fertilisants est
Burkina
différente de
Faso,
celle
the regulation is
des
different
pesticides ou
from
des produits de protection de
the
façon générale.
one
Pour les
for
fertilisants,
pesticide
c'est
and
régi
pesticides and
diriger la production et la commercialisation des fertilisants, où il y a des teneurs qui sont fixées.
we have.
Vous n'êtes pas obligé d'avoir forcément un
Sorry, the interpreter is not getting the sound properly.
Ces analyses se font par des laboratoires qui sont accrédités.
Sorry, Charles, the audio sound is very difficult, so the interpreter can't actually keep up. It's unfortunate.
Aux fertilisants, qu'ils soient organiques ou qu'ils soient chimiques de synthèse. Voilà. Donc, c'est généralement le laboratoire national de santé publique qui fait ces analyses.
No, still the sound is not good enough for
Charles,
interpretation. It's very low.
sorry, Charles. I don't think this is
Nous
benefiting
analysons
much
régulièrement les différents fertilisants.
people. I think we should stop this process. I don't think it's beneficial to the majority of people listening to us who are English speakers. So I think let's agree to share this in the Google Drive, and people can, look at that video at leisure. I think it will be a better use of time, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. We apologize about that. It was our attempt to get a Francophone speaker contribute to this session, and Jonathan has got a lot to contribute. Unfortunately, the video wasn't functioning properly. So we will, as I said, incorporate these in the Google Drive we'll be sharing, and then I think you can watch it at your own leisure. So I think we can just now move to our third or fourth last speaker.
I don't know. I'm not seeing Frank. Frank, are you here? Yeah, Frank is traveling. I think he's struggling to get internet. He's in another country. He's not in his home country. So when he comes, I think we'll have him. Frank, are you there? No, I think. So, Shasha, we could go to the discussions as we allow Frank to secure a good internet connection.
Okay, let us do that because I see that none of our speakers have actually responded to the questions in the Q&A. So I think we're just going to take those questions. I think David Bender has been waiting a while for his response. David, the question addressed to you is, how did you convince your government and policymakers in order for them to allow you to be able to produce and sell your bioinputs? What process did you go through? So I think that didn't come across in your presentation too strongly, but basically, what was your journey, David? If you see the question from David Banda in the Q&A there, yeah, we all ears.
Okay, thank you for the question. The journey is not really a very long journey because it's a requirement. You don't have to convince. As long as you fulfill the requirement set by the government, you automatically qualify to get the certification or to get the license. So what normally happens is like you do the application. You have government institution and the registration, and then after that, normally there are some payments that are made. They normally come for inspection. So it's after the inspection, just to see your facility and also your hygiene and also your sources of raw material. So when they do the inspection, now they normally carry the samples. When they carry the samples, they normally take to their own laboratories for analysis. And then from there, when the analyses are done, then you are issued with the certificate. One of the only challenge is that you find that we wanted to, for the liquid fertilizers, we wanted to do a microbial analysis. And you find that in the government laboratories, they don't have those techniques, or they don't have that technology. So you are referred to an independent laboratory, just as you have seen for Esther presentation. There's that CropNut laboratory, which is a private laboratory, but it's recognized by the government because it has the KENAS accreditation. So when you take your results from an accredited laboratory, then you are approved. Your products are approved. So that's the journey.
Thank you for this, David Banda. I think feel free to open your mic if you needed any other points of clarity from our speaker.
There's a question so in the chat.
Yes, I'm just looking at the Q&A first, Charles, and then
okay. There's a question in. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sister.
Yes, there's somebody asking where the Kilimo mark is used. It's used in the East African region. It's in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. That's where we use the Kilimo mark. And somebody is requesting that we go in Kenya to train in biofertilizers in Uganda. There are organizations that are training on biofertilizers in Uganda, and they can link up with them. And the Martha University has done a lot of research and has a lot of data and information on the same information. So if they can get to the Martha University, they can do that. But there is an organization that is training on biofertilizer in Uganda. I will give you the name before we finish.
You can also drop that in the Q&A. While you're on the line, Esther, there's a couple of questions addressed to you in the Q&A. Someone also wants to know about the nutrient analysis that you carried out. Who was the service provider? Which is the entity that helped you with that?
They would like to see?
Who is doing the nutrient analysis for you?
The people who are doing it for us.
Yes.
Please repeat the question.
Yes, which entity does your nutrient analysis?
We are licensed under Kilimo High.
No, we're just asking who does the analysis for you in terms of the nutrient analysis.
There is the CropNut, and we also have an organization called Real IPM. There are different organizations that do soil testing and analysis of the product, but a lot of Kenyans use the CropNut, and we also use another one called Real IPM to do the soil testing. So it's there. I also had reworked I had redone my slide, and there was a section where I was actually showing the soil tests in a particular section. Let me open and see if I can share that part.
Yeah, maybe drop the names that you've mentioned in the chat box. I think if people want to follow up on that. There was someone from a francophone asking how do we get hold of the molasses? J'étais en train de regarder votre question, Inès. Comment faire pour obtenir le malassé? Vous voulez dire la molasse? Oui, le malassé. Sarah, how do people procure molasses? Is this an input that is easily available in your respective places?
No, here in Kenya, the cost of molasses has really gone high. I can, for like 1 year ago, we were buying 20-liter jerrycan of molasses at 600 Kenya shilling. As we speak now, the same 20-liter jerrycan is costing Kenya shillings 1,500. It has gone more than double. We have shortages in sugar production. The companies that are doing sugar production, they have been hit by financial crisis, and farmers are not paid well. So the production of sugarcane has really gone down, and the demand for molasses has gone high. So the demand for molasses here in Kenya is getting higher and higher, and also that is a challenge.
Thank you.
I think also the demand for molasses has gone up because farmers, more and more people are knowing how to make biofertilizers, and the demand for molasses is high. But if you don't have molasses, you can use 4 kilos of sugar in 20 liters of water, and it will produce a solution that can be able to help you. In fact, currently as Rodi, we are running trials on how to use the syrup that is produced from soaking coffee from the coffee factories, which has a bit of sugar, and we add about 2 kilos of sugar to 20 liters of that, and it is working. We are running trials, and I think maybe in the next 6 months or a year, we can release those results.
What was also shared in one of the previous webinars is that farmers were making use of overripe banana and banana peels as an activator to keep the input alive. So that's also another good tip that had been shared previously. We're picking up on interesting trends with regards to bio-input, manufacturing, which is the incremental price of molasses. Can people in the room perhaps share their experiences from elsewhere on the continent? Is this a similar trend and a challenge that seems to be shared elsewhere? Please put your hand up and we will invite you to speak. David, yes, let's hear you. If you can please activate your camera when you speak. It's always nice to see people.
Oh, hi everyone. For the biofertilizers, like for us here, instead of the molasses, we use sugar or use the fruity solution that you eat the fruit and then you use the water. But what happens is the quality differs. When you use molasses, you have a higher quality. When you use sugar or the fruits, you have a lower quality.
Please unmute yourself.
Yes, so that's what happened.
Thank you, David, for that input. I see Sanjoy's hand is up. Please go ahead, Sanjoy.
Oh, thank you so very much. I'm from Bangladesh. So I'm also doing biofertilizer and engaging fodder farmers, especially to use this biofertilizer to augment their livestock feed production. So I would like to know that how much biofertilizer is required to cultivate 1 acres of land, and is there any environmental hazards related with this biofertilizer spread, especially greenhouse gas emission? So can you please answer me these questions? Thank you.
Esther or David, does anyone want to take those two questions? In terms of the
For us,
application.
we are using,
Mhm.
yes, for us, we are using 200 to 300 biofertilizer, the solid biofertilizer per acre. And on biogas green emission, the methane that is produced in the fermentation is not as high as when you actually ferment the organic input on its own. It takes a shorter period and it degrades faster. So you produce less of green gas emission in the production of biofertilizer.
Okay, from our end, we are using 200 kg in 1 acre of the solid fertilizer, and also 2 liters for the liquid fertilizer, the liquid foliar. And also it also depends with the kind of crop that you are doing. You know, different crops require different application. But for maize, another crop, we are doing 200 kg in 1 acre for the solid fertilizer.
Right, thank you both for inputting on this. There was another hand up, but if there's none, I just want to go back to the Q&A so that people do feel that they questions are answered. Ephraim, you wanted to speak earlier. We didn't allow you to. Do you want to perhaps address your question to David directly, Ephraim?
Helmut. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm from Zimbabwe. All I wanted to find out was where is the source of the organic matter, the source of the organic matter for the compost. Where
Couldn't
is it?
hear, please
How do you do
unmute.
it? Thank you.
So if you didn't hear, Ephraim's question is, where do they get their raw materials and what kind of raw materials do they use? It's a question addressed to David.
Exactly.
Yes, for us, we are getting a lot of raw materials from rice plantation. Like where our plant is, we are surrounded by large scale farmers who are doing rice production. So we get a lot of material from there. We are also getting materials from farmers. Like we are using a lot of urine. We get it from farmers. We also get some waste from a company that is doing avocado oil processing. So when they process avocado oil, the waste, we are now getting it. And also it's a very good action of our fertilizer.
Okay, and Ephraim, if you want more information about this, we will invite you to go to the recording and support materials from the session 2, I think, of our webinar series that focuses specifically on the manufacturing of biofertilizers. You will find a wealth of information specifically on the manufacturing part, because today is a bit more of a focus on markets. I see Jean-Charles Sossou has had his hand up for a while. Jean-Charles, allez-y.
D'accord, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I am Jean-Charles Sossou from Togo. It's a small contribution on the question around the threat. I said, although we do not have sugar and all that, we use water from a coconut and fruit juice like pineapple or mango, and we try to mix them using also sugarcane juice. It's also a good activator. But I've got a question to the presentation of Esther. I'd like to find out a strategy for the marketing of input. I like the presentation, so I wanted to know more. Now, the third one is about the quantities that we are giving when it comes to my own experience. We have to start by knowing the soil, the needs of the plant, before we could insist on the quantity that we're going to use. Thank you.
Ouais, merci beaucoup, Jean-Charles, pour ces contributions. So, Esther, there was a question addressed directly to you from Jean-Charles. He wanted you to unpack, please, a little bit more the marketing strategy that you adopted to promote your bio inputs.
Okay, the marketing strategy that we adopted is that the demand from our farmers and the communities around us in knowing how to make biofertilizers was our greatest need and strategy. And that's why we decided to run regional workshops of making of biofertilizers. So for us, because we are a training center, we wanted to train people on how to make biofertilizers. And because of the short lifespan of the biofertilizers, marketing was not our initial strategy. It was training community agroecology volunteers so that they can be able to train more farmers and get the farmers to produce the biofertilizer on their own. It was last year that we thought of selling because the demand went up and people were asking for the biofertilizers. We are still strategizing and planning, but we are learning more from OAC on how they've done their marketing. But for us, we are more keen on training the farmers and creating local aggregates within the community. And we are happy about how our farmers are using it currently. We are working with farmers in coffee industries, over 5,000 farmers in the coffee factories who are now doing it, and the coffee production has gone up. But as an organization, we are now considering actually registering a company and actually selling. But people come to our center and buy the bio inputs.
Thank you very much, Esther. I see there's no hands, but there's a lot of queries in the Q&A. So I'm just going to handpick a couple of these so that people feel their questions are being addressed. So Rosaline was asking, okay, who is producing? I think it's both the institution and the farmers, depending on the case. And she's asking how to deal with the variation in nutrient levels due to variations in inputs and input concentrations at farmer level. So this is a production challenge again, but I think we can indulge a little bit, given David and Esther's expertise on this. So would anyone like to take this question?
Yes, can you come again? I didn't get the question correctly.
So David, we're asking, how do you deal with the variation in the nutrient levels that are attributable to the variation in the input themselves and the variation in input concentration at farmer level? As I think it speaks to the issue that farmers are not necessarily able to be aware of the analysis of the bio input that they're manufacturing. So you as a center, how do you deal with those potential variations from their inputs, and how does this impact your bio inputs?
Yeah, thank you for that question. At farmer
yeah, David.
Difficult because farmers they're not doing the analysis. They're doing the sorry.
We were losing you a bit. Yeah, please start again and please be brief in your response so that we can hear more.
Okay, so maybe I'm saying at farmer level, it's very difficult to know the variation because they don't do the analysis. Which plant materials have which nutrient? For instance, here in Kenya, we normally use Tanzania as one of the material that has Tanzania as one of the material that farmer can use, and it has a lot of phosphorus, nitrogen, and also like labate urine. It's known that it has a higher concentration of nitrogen. So we normally farmers use it through their own experiences. But when it comes to the production level, we normally take the analysis, and then from that analysis, you start to be guided by the result you get from the analysis. But at farmer level, farmers use their own experience and also the experience of the trainers. We normally advise them that these leaves or these plants have higher percentage of nitrogen. These plants are very good for phosphorus. Like for a good example, like the banana fruit or the banana flower, it has been proved that it has a lot of phosphorus. So if a farmer is making phosphorus flour, so it's through that we normally go about it. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that, David. We got the gist of what you were saying. Unfortunately, your line a bit on and off. Before I get the hands in the room, I just want
Sasha
to
couldn't hear you.
Okay. Can people hear me? Is my mic working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Oui,
we can
Sacha.
hear you very well.
Thank you. Before I give the mic to those hands up, I just want to trail back a little bit in the Q&A box to take Winnie's question, because I just want us to go back a little bit more to the marketing and certification discussion, which is today's topic. And Winnie and Debele, you were asking, I think your question is addressed to Esther. What challenges did you face in the certification process of your inputs, and how did you address these? So I think a little bit of unpacking of this would be interesting, Esther.
Okay, on the biofertilizer inputs is that you need as much to use as natural as possible nutrients. Like we have to use for the 12 different nutrients. And one of the key nutrients is the manure from livestock. If we use manure from dairy cows that have used cereals and grains that are genetically engineered or grown with a lot of chemical fertilizer, it will have that. So we go for the goat from the goats and livestock manure from pastoralists, among the Maasais and people who don't use a lot of inputs for their livestock. That's one challenge we faced. The other challenge we have faced is we also have to use forest soil. So we have to go into the forest to look for that forest soil to be able to apply into our inputs in the works, and we used to use a lot of rice germ. As you create more awareness and people know the need and demand profile for biofertilizers, the cost of inputs will go up. But the beautiful thing about the biofertilizers is that they're not only fertilizers, but they're also inoculants. So the micronutrients that go into the soil with the biofertilizer is a lot. And your soil starts changing and transforming in holding water moisture in terms of micronutrient levels and in terms of the nutrient release levels to the food you're growing. So your soil changes and actually we have.
I don't know if it's me, but I'm losing Esther.
Yeah, we are losing Esther. Maybe we can bring in someone.
Esther, sorry, we can't hear you. I'm just gonna ask Ferdinand to speak, and then Jean-Charles, it will be over to you again, and then Ephraim. Thank you.
Sorry, Sasha, it seems the French translation is not working.
Okay, Boris, are you there? Are we able to get your translation in the booth? Okay. Yeah, I was checking the French channel. It seems to be working. Ferdinand?
Le canal français marche. Allez-y, Ferdinand.
En fait, just an additional comment from the question that was raised on the quality of analysis of the nutrients. I think there is a challenge on quality, because if you're using cattle manure, for example, and somebody else is using poultry manure, you will find that there will be a variation in the quality of your bokashi, for example, in terms of nutrient concentration. That poultry manure has more concentration of phosphorus as compared to cattle manure. And when doing commercialization, then there is usually a challenge that you have to keep the consistency of that quality. So the choice of the source of the material for the bio inputs has got to be consistent, and you have to first of all find out the nutrient content of that material and how you will be able to have consistency. And then another thing is, how do you keep a closed loop so that you do not deplete one end and build another end? So that is a debate that maybe we have to keep pondering about, and as we look for solutions. And I also advocate for enterprise diversity, so that for those farmers who have maybe more cattle or more goats, more sheep, and have space, can specialize in a certain type of biofertilizer, maybe the solid, and then other farmers can buy from them, and also with those with the space to do the liquids. And yeah, that's just what I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferdinand, for those contributions. And I think just bouncing off, the comment that is made about you need to know, the composition of your inputs. My question to the experts in the room from the various HSHF centers is, how easy is it for farmers to actually have such an analysis done? I think the network of centers that can do these analyses is quite established in East Africa, but what are people's experiences in this respect? Because it does seem to me that this is a critical point of just knowing where you are at in the bioinputs value chain. And if people can't test or analyze what they're making, how can they actually access markets? So perhaps people can contribute to my comment in the chat box. I just want to go back to Jean-Charles, who's been waiting to make another contribution. Jean-Charles Sassou, à vous.
D'accord, merci beaucoup. Je voudrais juste
Thank you very much. I'd like to come back to your question earlier to contribute. Here in Togo, we have a lab. What we do is to submit our production to them. A week ago, we finished the production that we're going to submit to the lab to see what are the nutrient elements, if we have enough of what we're looking for. Now, when it comes to the variation of minerals, what we try to do is on the formulation of standardized bokashi, but then there was other challenges that we're trying to overcome. For instance, before we add the biofertilizer, we need to know what are the needs of the plant during its growth cycle. So I need to know what I'm adding to the plant at what moment for it to grow. Just to do a bokashi, like the brother said, if you do with livestock waste, and when it comes to chicken waste, you see that there is a bit of variation in terms of concentration. So what we do is we do a bit of research to see how we could include some powder from the rock and also some ashes from wood. If you're looking at rice waste, it's rich in silicium, but not all plants need that. So you have to adapt to the needs of the crop. Thank you.
Unajua ya tutaunda bokashi zote kwa material same. Unajua hiyo itabidi bokashi ingine tuunde kwa material tofauti, ndio alafu test tuweze kuona, alafu kwa hiyo ndio ina.
Thank you.
Charles, you had muted everyone. Thank you for that. Just before I take your question, Ephraim, I just want to remind our speakers, please, Esther and David, there's a lot of questions in the Q&A. We're not going to have a chance to address within the 5 minutes left for our session. Please, can you kindly go to the Q&A box and do your best in addressing the flurry of your questions as best as you can. You go to the bottom tab there, Q&A, you click on it, and then you can see the questions and you can type your response to them. It's important that these get addressed. And to the participants today, please rest assured, if you haven't received a response today, you will find the response to your query in the reports of the that we will be sharing as an output of this webinar series. Ephraim, over to you. We're listening to your question or your comments.
Thank you very much. Yeah, with respect to organic fertilizers, we produce organic fertilizers also here, but not so much of, we don't actually produce bokash, but vermicompost. Yeah, you see, we found it very difficult to give a figure in the terms of the analysis in NPK. To me, it's not the strength of our fertilizer does not lie really there. It lies in the amount of carbon and also the microorganism population and type of microorganisms in our fertilizer. That's where the strength is. And of course, NPK is still equally important, but it's difficult to measure because there was somebody who mentioned it already that it varies with the source of material. But what you can influence more, it is the carbon and the microorganism composition. So it's very difficult. But if we can put more strength on carbon and the microorganisms, I think would be the right that would be the right thing to do. Because in any case, most of our soils, they fall short mainly in carbon and the microorganisms. And those microorganisms need food, which is going to come from that carbon. Yeah. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. A very important comment that you contributed there, Ephraim. I would just like to pull out another question from the, I think it was a chat. Someone shared a question about how do we ensure equitable access to agroecological inputs to small-scale farmers. So I think this is quite a seminal question in the context of our work. You know, how, from your experience, David and Esther, are there specific angles or strategies that your respective organizations are pursuing to promote this equitable access to agroecological inputs? I suppose underlying the question is the issue of cost and availability, accessibility. So any comments on that would be welcome.
Yeah, maybe one of the areas is just to encourage the farmers to come for training so that they can be trained in their local villages. Because apart from now selling and marketing, we also have the training portal where farmers can make by themselves. So if they are trained to make locally and also they can share those knowledges with their neighbors, that's a very good opportunity. And also bringing a bioinput shop closer to the villages is also another opportunity that is there for those who cannot be able to make on.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Maybe to add to that is that farmers need the training to really understand what agroecology is, because we have to feed the soil the way we feed ourselves. All the food waste that comes from our tables, the water we use to wash our rice, to soak our beans, the waste that remains from the food we cook, all has to go to the farm. So once farmers understand that and puts it back, then that's the beginning of agroecology and feeding our soils, because our soils have been mined, the carbon level has reduced, so it is putting back the nutrients and the carbon. Anything that is from the field, like the leaves and any waste that comes from the house and from the farms, has to go back to the soil. But a lot of farmers have resulted in burning it and seeing it as damaging the soil. But once people understand that you have to put all the biomaterial back to the soil, that will be the beginning of enriching our soils.
Yeah, thank you, Esther and Charles. I think, Sarah, this answers your question, and I really agree with your point, you know, of managing the nutrient cycling. Not only is it waste from the farm, from the house that needs to be going back to the soil and given to the farmer for compost making, it's also the waste from the municipality. These various sources of nutrients that are being neglected and not going back to the soil. So yeah, the circular nutrient economy is very important. We're going to be about to close, but before that, I would like us to quickly drop a Mentimeter question, Charles. We've got a question we would like to ask all of you. If you can please bring it up, Charles. About the challenges related to accessing markets for agroecological inputs. We've touched on quite a few of them, and thankfully our speakers have managed to unpack things a bit for us. We would like to ask you, what are the main constraints to developing markets for agroecological inputs in your country? Yeah, and if you can contribute your input in the Mentimeter question that's going to be showing up, that would be great. So Charles, I'm sure you're on the back end there trying to bring it up for us.
That's correct. I will first put the link in the chat.
Oh, you're right. It's yeah, but you can bring it up on screen as well, eh?
Yeah, but I think respondents have to click on the link, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. My apologies. So in the chat box, people click on the menti.com link that is there, and you can put your own response to this question. What are the main constraints to developing markets for agroecological inputs in your country? We've mentioned this a few in the discussion. You know, accessing the raw inputs, the molasses, inflation, but as a general trend, you know, what are your challenges? And maybe we can bear this in mind as our organization work towards addressing these challenges. So we're just going to wait for the picture to emerge. I think let's share a word cloud. How many responses do you have, Charles?
Yeah, they're coming. I hope you can see my screen. Just a few of them. I probably will need to repeat the instructions.
So what people need to do is they need to go in the chat. You see in the chat box, Charles shared the link, mentime.com. You click there and it will take you to the question, and you can type what you feel is the biggest challenge to accessing bio inputs. So we have, yeah, the higher price of the inputs, inflation, access to resources, lack of information, lack of demand, capital, material and equipment. So the lack of demand is an interesting one, I find, because we're hearing there's a big rising demand, but sometimes, you know, supply is not going to establish if there's not a meeting demand. Too much bureaucracy, lack of material and equipment, government regulation is a big one. Well, these are showing in the word cloud. I'm just going to drop in the chat box Esther's detail. She was responding to one of the participants' question about accessing the contact details of organizations. So you can speak to Esther directly if you want to find out about training options on bio inputs. I think this was from John Kakonga.
Yeah. On that, I would say I'll drop my email in the chat. We have bio input training centers across the continent. So in whatever country you are, we have a healthy soil food center, and these centers are very experienced in offering practical and hands-on training in how to make a range of biofertilizers, but also bioprotectors or pest repellents. So I'll share my email right there. I'll be happy to connect you to our centers that offer this training.
And Charles, before we part, can you also please drop in the chat box the link to today's session with all the presentations? My system is a bit slow and it's not showing up, and I think we do need to share it as promised.
Yes, can I put off the screen?
Yeah, I think we're good. This is a very interesting picture that is emerging, and that we can maybe take forward in our analysis of trends. I'm picking up on current subsidy programs, which are obviously biasing the procurement of bioinputs towards agrochemicals. Another issue is the bulkness and how difficult it is perhaps to transport these. So thanks. We'll incorporate this into the report. People can get the benefit of this. And you will find in the chat box, Charles will be dropping a link with today's session with all the presentations in there, and you can hopefully get a chance to view Mr. Claude Arsene's presentation, which we unfortunately could not screen adequately. Before we part, because we are slightly over time, I just want to thank you all for your very active participation. This was a great turnout. I want to really thank a highly cognizant and experienced experts on inputs today. The next session after the Christmas and New Year break will be on the 12th of January 2024, and we will be speaking about integrating livestock and agroecosystems. This is a very sort of sought after topic. People have been asking for us to speak about livestock management. So please diarize this session for our next gathering. Charles, can I ask you to please advise on who we should be inviting to close today? I've got a few thoughts, but I will leave this question to you.
Yes, we have the chair of the Land and Agroecology Working Group, which houses the Healthy Soil, Healthy Food Initiative. She has spent all the time with us today, listening to our discussions, and I'm sure she will be happy to give us a concluding remark.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks everybody for coming. I mean, we've had, Charles, this is the number what? Is it number 5 or number 6?
Number 5.
Number 5. I mean, some of you have been very consistent in this, and we are very grateful you've turned up. Want to thank Sasha for making this meetings very lively, very enjoyable with her bilingual skills and the way she handles it. Thank you so much, Sasha. I want to thank the interpreters for this awesome job. Without you, we wouldn't be able to communicate and have these interesting conversations. So in 2024, we promise it's going to be more exciting, we'll get more videos, more interactive. And then you can also send, if you have ways you feel we can improve this, you can send notes to Charles and we will incorporate them. And please, in Africa, you say when there's something good, you don't want to enjoy it alone. Invite your friends, invite your neighbors, invite your colleagues, even your enemies, invite them to show them that you're a good person to come in and partake of because this is like showing somebody how to fish, not just giving them fish. But above all, I want to thank you. I cite Father Chika here. Thank you for coming. He's been very supportive of all this movement. Thank you, Charles, who is also my comrade and the brain behind. I see my mama here, Meja, who's been and everybody who has presented. I see a lot, I can't remember, Lizzie, people who are into feeding Africa and the world through agroecological practices in a healthy and sustainable way with respect to the farmers who actually produce this food. Thank you so much, dear people. Please be safe, be strong. Come back in 2024, bigger and stronger. Keep at this. Let's spread the word that agroecology works. And let's have a group photo to end this beautiful 2023. If you can put on your videos, let's see. I believe in God. By God's grace, we'll be alive and well to come back and keep up sharing this good news. Please put on your videos briefly if you can, except you're in a place where you cannot. And then we would try to take the videos. I'll wait if you can. In the next minute, please put on your videos. We have like 3. Charles, can you take the video I should take?
I'm taking already.
Okay, yeah. Try to take. I'll also try to take.
The big room, you need 3 screenshots.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Taken several.
The last one, please hang on. One more, and then we'll go. Please give me the award-winning smile, the agroecology beaming smile that we got this. Yeah. Yeah, we got it. Thank you, people. Stay safe and
Thank you so much, Marianne.
see you in a beautiful 2024. Keep strong, keep better. We keep doing this and busting the myths and all for solutions. Thank you, people. Thank you.
And fight harder in 2024.
Yes.
Oh, Olga Jaya, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Keep well.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.